Video game mysteries. There are many. Who is Bowser Jr.'s mother? Will we see Gaster and Deltarune? And when will we get Ace Attorney 7? We will not be exploring these questions in this video. I love a good mystery, and in video games, you get to actively participate and solve them. What could be better? So I'm going to make this a series where I'm going to tier rank mystery video games I've played and discuss them a little. They won't be like full reviews, and they will be spoiler free. I'm going to be ranking these on how much fun I had, so A Game with Flaws can still be high up, and some of these I'm going to rate as a series instead of as individual games. I have a pretty big list of games still to play, but if you have recommendations, I would love them. Also, I'm not the kind of person who likes to be like, this game is complete garbage and has no redeeming qualities because I didn't like it. However, there is one game on this list I just can't escape the feeling that it might be trash. Okay, let's
start! Objection!
Ace Attorney. Ranking these all individually would be an entire video on its own, so I'm going to do this as a collective. Do I need to explain the premise of Ace Attorney? I'll do it. Ace Attorney is the world's first courtroom battle series. The series quickly gained popularity with its unique gameplay where you help a fledgling attorney save his innocent clients by finding out the truth behind murder cases. Ace Attorney is the blueprint, an icon. No one is doing it like them. The base premise for these games is perfection, investigating a case full of batshit over-the-top characters with ridiculous premises, and then using the evidence you found in court, oftentimes, bluffing and stalling. And of course you can summon the dead and question them sometimes. Why not? Plus, you've got my girl Maya, and you've got the tension between Phoenix and the mysterious Edgeworth. The pixel art is gorgeous. The character designs are so iconic. The humor, the music is fantastic. You're never bored. And sure, sometimes you're like, how in the world was I supposed to know to use that piece of evidence here? But it's worth putting up with to play games this good. Different games and cases have varying levels of quality, but overall, my love for this series has stood the test of time. And just think of what it's provided to meme culture. Also, if you're interested in the meaning behind the character names in these games, boy, do I have the video for you. Based on what I just said and the shirt I'm wearing, you can probably guess this is going in S tier. Next up, we have Process of Elimination. A mysterious killer calling himself the Quartering Duke has recently begun a chain of murders that have claimed hundreds of lives. Over the globe, many criminals have taken to his side, often leading to imitation killings and contributing to the ever-rising crime rate. As chaos spreads throughout society, the government announces unusual countermeasures against the Duke. They're enlisting the help of the Detective Alliance, an organization comprised of the very best in their field. Ordinary high school student Wato Hojo is an admirer of the Alliance. One day, when investigating the case of a pet killer, he crosses paths with a peculiar man calling himself Senior Detective, who informs Wato that he's been selected as a member of the Detective Alliance. Following this, he's knocked unconscious and forcibly brought to a remote island whom he later finds out is referred to as the Morgue. First of all, I have a warning about this game. If you get a physical edition, it comes with a little art booklet, which, hell yeah, I love art booklets. But do not look at it until you finish the game. It spoils the ending. Luckily, I didn't look at it until afterwards because I wanted to organically meet all the characters, but don't look at it until later. This game had a lot of potential. It's mainly a visual novel, but for the investigation points, it has a strategy board game element, which is so cool. I did have fun with the strategy parts, but I feel like it needs a little bit of tweaking. It was really close to being great. I loved the art style, and I thought that the game started off in a really intriguing way, and it had some really interesting world building. But unfortunately, I didn't really get attached to the characters. But there's this one level where the enemy is invisible and you just have to fucking guess where he is. And if you're wrong, it game's over. I got pretty salty. The cases weren't that hard and the stories weren't super memorable, but there was an implied sequel at the end, but one was never announced. But I think a sequel would be great because if it reaches its full potential, I think it could be fantastic, but it's just not quite there. This one's difficult because I feel like it's on the line between C and D. I am glad I played it though, so if you're being nice, it's a C, but I feel like if you're being harsh, it's a D. How am I feeling today? Am I feeling harsh? I'm gonna stick it in C for now, but based on where I put other games, I might be feeling D. We'll see. Disco Elysium. Are women bourgeois? Disco Elysium follows a troubled detective with no memory of his identity or the world around him. As he investigates a murder with a detective from another precinct, The player can piece together the protagonist's identity and discover what led him to his state. Disco Elysium is a non-traditional RPG featuring little combat. Instead, events are resolved through skill checks and dialogue trees using a system of 24 skills representing the protagonist's different aspects and personalities, each of which can speak directly to the player to influence their decisions. Okay, I have a hot take about this game. I think it's a terrible mystery, but an amazing game. The mystery is not fair play, and it's really not the point. However, the world building, the characters, the writing, the politics, the personality system, being able to die by sitting in a chair, all fantastic. It is simultaneously philosophical and ridiculous. Truly one of a kind. I would only recommend this game to people who love reading. It is not technically a visual novel, but it's like visual novel adjacent. It's like 30-ish hours of reading, although it is fully voice acted. I'm conflicted about where to rank this because I'm specifically talking about mysteries, but I refuse to put it in a low tier, you know? So I'm putting this in a special homemade category called Great Game, Terrible Mystery. The root trees are dead. The year is 1998. A private jet belonging to the Roottree Corporation has crashed. On it were the Roottree sisters and their parents. Combined, they were worth over $1 billion. Now, due to the eccentricities of their great-great-grandfather Elias, their money must be redistributed to the rest of the family. But who's actually a blood relative? That's where you come in. Armed only with the power of your mighty dial-up modem, you'll scour for photos, books, articles, and other evidence. Then you'll make connections and deductions based on the family relationships you uncover. With every spot on the tree you fill in correctly, the names and photos left in your possession will have fewer and fewer places to go. But the evidence will also be harder and more obscure to find. Can you put together the final pieces of the puzzle? I love logic puzzles. I have tons of books of them. This game felt like a bunch of connected logic puzzles combined with going down Wikipedia rabbit holes. This game had me obsessively hunched over a notebook for 14 hours in the span of 2 days. I know, but I had to solve it. It's so addicting and satisfying. It makes you feel like you're actually a detective, and the creators put so many clever little puzzles and details in the game. I would play 100 games with this exact mechanic, and I am now looking to fill the Roottree's void in my heart. So if you have recommendations, please give them to me. Would I recommend this to everyone? No, but if you're a very specific type of nerd, hell yeah. And this is going straight to S tier. And now we have Inescapable, No Rules, No Rescue. Inescapable, No Rules, No Rescue is a social thriller set in a tropical island resort. You've been kidnapped and forced to participate in a twisted reality TV show with 10 strangers. At the end of their stay, they'll each receive $500,000 if they survive. Like I said earlier, I try to be like, just because this game wasn't for me doesn't mean it was trash, but I cannot think of a single redeeming quality for this game. It advertised itself as a death game mystery, but it's a visual novel with 4 different routes. Only one of them is a mystery, and it's bad. None of them are death games. But in one of the routes, a couple people die, and the blood is pink. So it's basically Danganronpa. Putting aside the false advertising, I tried to keep an open mind. The characters, poorly written and completely inconsistent. And, okay, I'm trying to keep this spoiler free. Let's just say the game handles some sensitive topics. I'm not someone who thinks you can't have these kinds of things in media, or that you can't have characters do bad things, but the way the game handles them feels bad, like intentionally mean-spirited. But even if you look past the parts that I think are like crimes against humanity, it's boring. There are hours of uninteresting small talk, and like so much of it is about boobs, and like it's just all fluff to make the game longer. One of the challenges is to run up a fucking hill. If you want to go to one of the other 4 routes, it's a huge pain to get to. And when I was looking up the description of this game, I saw that they have the audacity to still be charging $50 for this game. Even if I liked the game, there is nowhere near enough content for this game to be worth $50. Fuck off. And you are going straight to F tier. Literally the worst game I've ever played. The Zero Escape series. I'm gonna read the description of the first game. Kidnapped and taken to an unfamiliar location, 9 people find themselves forced to participate in a diabolical nonary game by an enigmatic mastermind called Zero. Why were they chosen to put their lives on the line as part of a dangerous life and death game? Who can be trusted? Tensions rise as the situation becomes more and more dire, and the 9 strangers must figure out how to escape before they wind up dead. I played 999 on a Nintendo DS cart like a long time ago. I know they've remade the game and made a lot of quality of life changes, but all I know is the DS version, and boy do I wish they'd had the quality of life changes back then. I had to replay a certain room an absurd amount of times just to see all the other endings. When I played this game, I hadn't seen or played anything like it. I could feel the tension and I was hooked. The characters were so cool and mysterious. You gotta make choices that actually affected things. The escape rooms were addicting. I love escape rooms. If you're willing to suspend a fair amount of disbelief while you play these games, what a fun and wild ride the story is. After I played these, I was like Googling games like Zero Escape, but nothing quite hits the same way. The way Uchikoshi writes is very unique. Over the 3 games, the quality of the puzzles and the writing varies, and sometimes you gotta side-eye some of those twists, but I adore them and I want more of them. This series isn't like my favorite of all time, but I do adore it. I think I'm gonna put it in A.
It's punishment time!
And of course, we have to include Danganronpa. Hope's Peak Academy is home to Japan's best and brightest high school students, the beacons of hope for the future. But that hope suddenly dies when Makoto Naegi and his classmates find themselves imprisoned in the school, cut off from the outside world and subject to the whims of a strange, murderous little bear named Monokuma. He pits the students against each other, promising freedom to anyone who can murder a fellow classmate and get away with it. It's up to you to find out who Monokuma really is and why you've been taken from the world you once knew, but be careful what you wish for. Sometimes there's nothing more deadly than the truth. I feel like with Danganronpa, you're either all in or all out, and I am all in, baby! Not knowing which of the over-the-top but somehow so compelling characters are going to live or die or become murderers, the stakes are so high. The wacky-ass ways they try to get away with murder, the humor, the music, the emotional moments, the iconic character design and art style, the pink blood. Bottom line, it is always entertaining and fun. It's never a dull moment. When I first played Danganronpa, I barely ate or slept, and I know that's unhealthy, but I was obsessed, and nothing hits like Danganronpa does. I do want to acknowledge that these games aren't perfect. There are some problematic elements, and some of the cases are better than others, but overall, these are some of my favorite games of all time. I was actually gonna rank these individually, but I realized I would give every single one of them S tier. Although Super Danganronpa 2 is my favorite. And now we're getting 2 by 2? I'm so excited! Next is Murder by Numbers. Los Angeles, 1996. Honor Mizrahi was just an actress on a hit TV detective show, but when her boss ends up dead just minutes after he fires her, she finds herself starring in her own murder mystery. Teaming up with Scout, a recon robot thrown away after a mysterious incident, she sets out to clear her name, and a new detective duo is born. 90s fashions, upbeat jams, sass dialed up to 100, questionable jokes, drag queens, all that and more awaits in Murder by Numbers. It also says the soundtrack was composed by Masakazu Sugimori, who did Ace Attorney, Ghost Trick, and Beautiful Joe, and apparently the characters were designed by Hato Moa, who created Hatoful Boyfriend, which I have not played. This game is largely nonograms, which are also known as Picross, and I love those, so when they said Picross Murder Mystery, I was in. If you do not like Picross, do not play this game. It is most of the game. Was this the greatest game I've ever played? No, you don't really get to solve anything, but there's lots of fun Picross, and like, it's cute. I liked it. And I do love a good little robot companion, so we'll stick this in C. Next, The Somnium Files. In a near-future Tokyo, Detective Kaname Date is on the case of a mysterious serial killer. Date must investigate crime scenes as well as dreams on the hunt for clues. From the mind of Kotaro Uchikoshi, Zero Escape series director, with character design by Yusuke Kozaki, No More Heroes and Fire Emblem, a thrilling neo-noir detective adventure is about to unfold. For this one, I'm only ranking the first game in the series. I love Mizuki. She is my daughter. my daughter who can beat me up. This is very different in tone from the Zero Escape series. I, the Somnium Files can get dark and emotional, but it also can get very silly goofy and like into straight up absurdity. I like absurdity, but only if the writing is good enough to pull it off, and I think this succeeds. The Somnium sequences are very unique. The dream logic is very interesting. They are very trial and error though, which makes sense but doesn't feel as satisfying as like getting to figure out a puzzle, you know? So if the game were to throw in some puzzles you can solve as well, I would be very happy. This game has a lot of heart, and the characters and the bonds between them are very important to the story, which I love. The story is wild, and piecing it together is very fun. The characters are fantastic, although if I could cut out like 50% of Date's pervy lines, that would be great. There's just so many. But it's a really imaginative and creative game. This one's really hard. I really love it, but I feel like I'm not as obsessed as I am with like Danganronpa and Ace Attorney. I'm torn between S and A. I'm thinking high A, but I feel like it's like close to an S, you know? Next up, we've got the Professor Layton series. I am going to be ranking it as a series, but I have not played Last Spectre or Azran Legacy. I still need to get my hands on those. Professor Herschel Layton is a renowned archaeologist and professor at Gressenheller University, as well as a polite and well-spoken gentleman. He is called to solve various mysteries in different places due to his connections to various people and his wide range of expertise. The professor is accompanied by his apprentice, Luke Triton, a cheerful and curious boy who brings a touch of humor to the story of Layton. The word that comes to mind for this series is charming. The art style, the music, the vibe, it's all charming. The stories are very inventive, the puzzles are fun and varied, the characters are nice. These are just solid games. These are always fun games to play, but I'm not like super invested. I'm not like staying up late to find out what happens, you know? Although I really want to shout out the spin-off game Layton Brothers Mystery Room. The gameplay for this is very different from the main series, and it's a lot darker in tone. And honestly, it's my favorite Layton game. Is that blasphemous? I really want a sequel for it. Like I said, I still have 2 more games I need to play, but I feel like it's at a B for me. Okay, next up we've got Exit Corners. 5 strangers find themselves trapped in an abandoned hotel that's set to collapse in 24 hours. To escape alive, they'll have to solve their captors' riddles and unravel the mystery behind their abduction. Exit Corners is an episodic adventure featuring visual novel story segments and riddle-based puzzles. All 29 episodes are currently available and playable on this site being exitcorners.com. It's free and you don't have to download anything. It runs in your browser and keeps track of your progress. Downloading unnecessary apps is the bane of my existence, so thank you. This is a game that was recommended for fans of Zero Escape as it was heavily inspired by the series. A lot of times when I come across puzzles in a visual novel, they feel like an afterthought. But the puzzles in Exit Corners feel like they have a lot of love put into them. They're really great, and they feel Professor Layton-esque, which is a compliment. The stakes in the corner rooms were high, and it was a really cool concept. There were some nice reveals and character moments, but the ending didn't quite hit for me. It wasn't badly done, I've just unfortunately seen something similar done before. It's a solid game though, like it's better than a lot of mysteries by big companies that are charging. And there is one thing that I really like, but I can't talk about it because it's a spoiler. I am gonna stick this in C tier, C for corners. Next up is a mouthful of a game, Urban Myth Dissolution Center. The Urban Myth Dissolution Center, your one-stop solution for dissolving and dealing with cursed relics, monstrous oddities, and dimensional anomalies. Take on cases revolving around urban myths as Azami Fukudai, the heroine, under the supervision of Ayumu Meguriya, Level S psychic and center director. The game takes you on an episodic digital mystery adventure, exploring various urban myths that haunt the internet, all presented in stunning psychedelic pixel art. The player takes control of Azami for the detective legwork, collecting circumstantial evidence and social network posts to unravel the truth behind each urban myth, as well as the hidden pasts of each client and why they came to encounter each oddity. The dissolution of each urban myth leads to unexpected consequences and hidden truths. I've got mixed feelings about this game. Let's start with what drew me to play it in the first place, the cool-ass spooky pixel art. I completely adore it. And the music is also fantastic. There was a lot of focus in this game about how scary social media can be, which is an interesting topic. And then they connect it to the gameplay and have you kind of sleuth through internet posts, which is a very cool idea. You do just kind of click and read everything though. I do wish they'd implemented like a Root Trees Are Dead style search where you like put in your own search terms and stuff, but There's also the very normal gameplay of like talking to suspects and looking for clues. And then there is like a fill in the blanks portion, but unfortunately it was way too easy to the point where like it probably should have just been a full visual novel. It was so easy. The individual cases have really neat stories and I like the characters a lot, but unfortunately the like final thing I really did not like. It's full of plot holes and it's been done before many times, and how do I say this without spoilers? It portrays something inaccurately. Ranking this is tough because I feel like a lot of love went into this game, especially the art, and I did have fun with parts of it, but like the lack of difficulty and that really bad ending kind of soured it for me. I want to like this game, I really do, but it's a D. And now we've got Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. Bang! A single bullet rings out in the dark city, but as one life ends, the story is just getting started. Sissel wakes up as a ghost and realizes he has lost his memory along with his life. Who am I? Who killed me? And why? With only a few hours until sunrise and oblivion to uncover these answers, Sissel must solve the mystery of his own murder, starting with a detective who may have witnessed the crime. Using the powers of the dead, you can possess and manipulate objects and even rewind time as you work to solve brain-teasing puzzles in a story chock full of quirky humor and charming characters. Direction, writing, and game design were headed by Shu Takumi, creator of the Ace Attorney series, and the music was done by Masakazu Sugimori, who did the music for Ace Attorney. I love a unique game, and there's nothing even similar to Ghost Trick. I honestly won't say that much because I would never forgive myself if I spoiled this for anybody. The characters are amazing and the character animations have so much personality in them. The character animations have more character than some game characters have character. Character. The humor is peak, the puzzles are peak, and also I cried so much. You should really play it. Also, Missile is the best boy. I will say I played this on Nintendo DS and they have since remastered it, but I have not played the remaster. And you know this is going straight to S tier. The second to last game, The Return of Obra Dinn. In 1802, the merchant ship Obra Dinn set out from London for the Orient with over 200 tons of trade goods. 6 months later, it hadn't met its rendezvous point at the Cape of Good Hope and was declared lost at sea. Early this morning of October 14th, 1807, the Obra Dinn drifted into port at Falmouth with damaged sails and no visible crew. As insurance investigator for the East India Company's London office, dispatch immediately to Falmouth, find means to board the ship and prepare an assessment of damages. Return of the Obra Dinn is a first-person mystery adventure based on exploration and logical deduction. Certain games give me motion sickness, and with this game, it was severe to the point where I thought I wouldn't be able to play it. But it's hailed as like a must play for mystery fans, so I did some Googling and stuff, and I found that if I played it on handheld mode on the Switch, I could kind of tolerate it, maybe because it was small and like lots of still things around it, I'm not sure. But it wasn't perfect, and I still had to like stop and breathe and stare at the wall, and when I had to go through doorways, I had to close my eyes because it made me very nauseous. But I'm stubborn, so I finished it, damn it. This may have affected my enjoyment of the game, because there's no quick way to backtrack. You have to go from scene to scene, making myself nauseous. So towards the end, I was like, please just let me quick travel. I am seasick. The UI in general wasn't my favorite because it felt like it made things frustrating for no reason. However, the idea of this game is brilliant. Like seeing snippets of the past and trying to piece everything together. Hell yeah. The way the clues were done was really cool, although I always think I'm being tricked, so sometimes a guy would be speaking a certain language and I'd be like, how do we know that means he's from that country? What if he speaks 4 languages? I love how atmospheric the art style made everything feel, although sometimes it made some things hard to see, but it was very cool. I have since played some games that were inspired by Obra Dinn, and this might be a sin, but I did like them more. They felt a little less clunky. I'm sorry. And I'll talk about those games in part 2. But amazing premise. Not my favorite execution of it. Again, I'm very sorry. I do think, brilliant ideas and everything, but I'm going to put it in B. And finally, we have Freddy Fish. S tier, obviously. Okay, bye. Our woman. Our woman, stop it! Our woman, God damn it!